Good evening, all. Welcome to the latest episode of the Turn It Round the Corner podcast. This evening, I'm joined by Raymond Trowsdale. Raymond is affectionately known as Buddha. This episode centers all around a non-league super fan. I'll be doing an episode further down the line of a super fan from the Premier League in England, but I couldn't think of anyone better, really, to talk to than Buddha. Obviously, Harlow Town is a club very close to my heart, but as someone that takes that following very, very seriously, very passionately. And so I wanted to delve into that and look at his match day, look at his weekly routine, and as I say, how he found himself watching local non-league football rather than his beloved Spurs. So welcome, Buddha. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, mate. All good.
Yeah, you enjoy your holiday. I've seen you've been away on holiday, so you enjoy your holiday.
Yeah. Me and the missus, we've got no children, so we tend to try and cram as many holidays in as we can. And we've been all over the shop, and then we visited this place last year, and we enjoyed it so much we thought we'd go back again this year. So yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Lovely, mate. Life's for living. So, did you miss any Harlow Town games?
Yeah, I did. I missed two games, which is a rarity for me. I missed the Cannonswood game and I missed Dunmo. But as soon as I landed at Stansted, it was back home, drop the cases, get the car, and I managed to make the second half of the Ilford game. So, so I
Brilliant.
missed
There
two
we
and a half
go.
games.
So that's the dedication that I'm talking about. So let's just scrape it back. So you do support Spurs, as I say. I see every now and then you go and watch Spurs, and talk to me about how, first of all, you got into football, and then obviously how times have changed where you found yourself going to watch Harlow. Obviously, I know you live in Harlow, but talk to me about the how you got into football and Spurs, and as I say, that migration through to non-league football.
Yeah, I've always had a love for the game. I always played at school and I always played Sundays, so I've always played the game. And it was about when I was about seven. My neighbour took me to Spurs, and it pretty much grew from there. When he went, he would take me, and so basically my love for Spurs grew from there onwards. But obviously, as you get older, your life changes. You grow up, you get family commitments and things like that, And I got to a point where I felt with Spurs, as much as I loved it. It was around the time that all the seats were coming in, the prices were rocketing, and yeah, it just got to a stage where I couldn't afford to keep my season ticket going anymore. So I had to say enough was enough.
So when was that, Buddha? When did you make that decision? How long ago was that?
So I started following Harlow when they moved to the new ground. So it's probably about 16, 17 years ago now, I think.
Right.
Um,
And
and I
was there
worked
any
for
other club that you thought about following, or was you didn't think about following another club like lower down in the
no,
Prem?
it never really occurred to me about supporting another team. I thought,
Yeah,
oh, my statues were just going to be empty. And the place where I worked with a guy called Ben Brown and Ian Barham. You might know Ian.
yeah, I know Ian. Yeah,
Um, they were following Harlow at the time, and they were going and talking to me for quite some time. And they were saying, "Look, give it a go, see what you think, and then if you don't like it, you don't have to go anymore." So yeah, that's basically how it started. With my two colleagues from work. So I went for the first time, and I fell in love with it straight away. I really did. It's the people that are there, and to be honest with you, a lot of the people that were there were very similar to me. In fact, that they given up their season tickets at Premier League clubs to
yeah.
support Harlow. So and then because we was all in around the same age group, it just felt so comfortable.
Was there
And that's
anything that you missed, Buddha? Like, obviously they're worlds apart, right? You look at Spurs. I'm not a massive fan of, for that reason. I'm not a massive fan of new grounds, but really,
mm,
when I look at Spurs' new ground, I've been to Spurs' new ground. That's probably one of the best that there is, right? They obviously they kept it on the same site. It's brilliant, but
yeah,
when you compare that to say, Harlow's ground, and Harlow's ground is a new and modern, so
yeah.
the ground,
Um,
probably. Was there anything that you was straight away where you thought, oh, it's just not the same? I know you said you loved it straight away, but was there any comparisons where it took a bit of longer to get used to, or was straight away was you just engrossed with it?
no, do you know what? I think what really grabbed me was the passion and the connection between the fans. There was a real bond between the supporters. And one thing that always grabbed me, I like going to watch Spurs. I like to see them win, and I love the new stadium. But for me, I don't feel connected to it. Whereas if I'm with Harlow, I'm with people I know who I spend 9 months of the year with. There's a bond between the volunteers, the staff, the players. It's the whole connection thing. It's like one big family where there's no connection with Spurs. You go there, you sit next to people you're never going to see again. I don't know. I don't feel like there's a bond. I think Harlow's more personal.
So what? So what? Straight away, but what sort of changed from your match day routine of going to Spurs? Obviously, Harlow's a lot closer, but what did you what did you feel would change for the better? Obviously, ticket prices are a lot cheaper, but like, how did your routine change from going to Spurs to going down the road to Harlow?
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, when you follow a Premier League club, obviously there's a lot more miles involved, isn't there?
Yeah,
One week you're in Newcastle, the following week you're in Southampton. And at the time, because I had young children, non Harlow felt more close to home, so it was easy that,
sure.
that I could get my football and still be there for the family at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think, as you say, it's a lot. There's a lot of miles involved, and obviously following your local team, as you say, you haven't got to get on trains,
Yeah,
buses, and automobiles. But do you think a lot of the points that you've raised now, I think that's a common denominator for a lot of people. As you said, maybe 15, 16 years ago, there was handfuls. Now, I read books, I read articles where there's lots of people migrating from Premier League football or Championship football to non-league. Is that something that you can see, growing even more so, or do you think at one point could you ever see, for instance, the Premier League or the Championship having like a light bulb moment and dropping the prices where they should be, or do you think they're just going to continue to rise and therefore you'll see more people drop out and watch lower league football?
yeah, I think you're right there. I think with the cost of Premier League football now, I mean it's incredible. I mean if I take my grandson, I can say goodbye to somewhere between 100 and 200 pounds for a day out.
Yeah.
You know, which is it's absolutely crazy. As much as I enjoy I don't know how clubs can justify that. And if you get there, your grandson might want a shirt, so there's another 50, 60 quid. It's
Yeah.
just it's not a working man's sport anymore. You know, um,
No, no, I totally agree. And to someone, my age, your age, older, that I'm not going to pigeonhole anyone, but probably that doesn't wear a shirt, that doesn't, there's got the same scarf, who sits in the same seat. He might have a beer in his local round the corner, so he's not spending fortunes in the ground. I get the
mm,
feeling, and I've read reports now that Premier League clubs don't really want them supporters anymore. They want the day trippers. They want the sort of people that come over from the Middle East and the Far East that maybe watch, 5 or 6 games in London over a 2 week period, spend fortunes in the shop. They're going to pay top
yeah,
money for the tickets. And I noticed a lot over the last couple of years that non-league football at all levels, the attendances are going through the roof. So I think it'd be a positive thing. As sort of what's gone on in football, has that allowed you to bring your mates now to watch Harlow, or bring anyone that you used to go Spurs with to watch Harlow, or get into non-league? People that maybe hadn't shown any interest before that.
yeah. I mean, people obviously pick up because I am one for sharing everything Harlow, and I have had people come over Harlow, and they say to, oh, I'm so and so, we're friends on Facebook. I come over because of what you've done and what I've seen. And there's a guy called Richard Blackwell. I mean, he's never been to Harlow before, but he's not missed a game this season, and it's all because of what I've been sharing. And again, he's got a family as well, so it's accessible for him. He can get, same as me, he can get his football fix and still be close to home for the family. And it's really changed at Harlow fan wise. There is such a great atmosphere, and the amount of the youngsters these days now that are coming over there, it's just, yeah, I think times are changing. I think
I think,
times are definitely changing.
yeah, I totally agree. But I think I only got to a couple of games last year, but obviously through you and other people and whoever it may be, I'm a Harlow boy. Wherever I live in the world, I'll always be a Harlow boy, right? So I follow the team online, always check one of the first results I check on a Saturday. And what I did
Yeah,
notice last year is, to your point, there's a lot more younger people going football, uh,
yeah,
and a lot of more people following Harlow, and that's again, it's accessible, right? If them young kids have only got a tenner in their pocket, they get a much better deal going down Harlow than, a £10 not even going to get them their train ticket to London or go
no,
to West Ham or Spurs.
mm,
So I think it's a good thing for the game. Obviously, it's not great for the overall game that, football in England is pricing out, you know,
yeah, I
the play
agree.
on the day or the traditional football fan, but for
Mm,
the likes of Harlow Town and Stalford and, local non-league teams, that should have a positive effect. So how do you think they they're they've enjoyed that ride? Is it because, you know, is it just because you had a successful season last year, or are the club making a big push for younger supporters? Has it been, a couple come and they've brought all their mates? Because most football clubs do worry about their demographic of football fans is a lot older. And I would say the
yeah,
same at Leyton Orient, right? I had a season ticket holder at Leyton Orient. Me and my boy go. The same with that. Up until 10 years ago, there was a real worry that Leyton Orient had a really old, aging fan base. And obviously, a few years previous to that, Barry Hearn had done the £10 season tickets. And a
yeah.
lot of those people have sort of born through, had children as well, introduced them. So Orient's supporter demographic, if you look at away games now, there's loads of young boys going to watch Orient. And
Yeah.
how's that evolved at Harlow? How have they marketed to the young kids, or has it just kind of happened organically?
Well, I mean, with the club, obviously, because of the drop
Yeah,
in leagues, um, obviously the pricing had to change because it couldn't be what it was at step four.
sure.
So now the adult price is £8, but anybody under the age of 18, I think it's 18, is free of charge. So obviously they come in, they spend their money on drink and burgers, buy a program, and then when you get one or two friends come along, they bring their friends, they bring their friends, and all of a sudden last year the gates went from sort of 150, 200 at step four to 500 and 600 every week.
Yeah,
And it's such a nice feel at Harlow at the moment as well, because it's really family orientated. There's loads of mums and children. It's such a great. It's a diverse demographic now. Um, yeah, it's everybody now, which is great. And the kids. I mean, you know me, I'm not one of the quietest people over there. And people buy into my support, and then they kind of follow what I do. So yeah, they enjoy it, and they keep coming back, which is great. Everything I do is about trying to get more people to support the club, and the club have done a great thing by doing the free of charge for under 18s, which I think is a brilliant idea, because
yeah.
they're going to be they're the next generation of Harlow Town Football Club.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. And as I say, even from when I was involved with Harlow, it was a conversation that I used to have with Tom regularly.
Yeah,
And some people look at that when you say, "Oh, I don't want to let people in for free," or it doesn't make any sense. But actually, what you're doing with the younger generation, it's like, charging parents and having kids for free. Because what happens, as you said, you go along as a parent, with your grandson at Spurs, the minute you step foot in a football ground, it's dad can have a burger, dad can have a drink, dad can have a shirt, can have a
yeah,
scarf. But not only
yeah,
that, you're generating income from actually getting someone in for free, but also
yeah.
you, as you say, you're nurturing the seeds of future generations. You're nurturing the seeds where for most Harlow fans, they've got to have a Spurs, they've got to have a West Ham, they've got to have an Arsenal. But when I grew up, every time there was a big game for Harlow, everyone would be there. The Peterborough game or whatever it
Oh
may be.
yeah,
There'd always be, the Barnet game at the Sports Centre. There'd always be 2,000-3,000 Harlow fans. It was just, it's a in an area where everyone's probably going to have a London team, but then if they're not coming full time, why don't chip away and get those kids coming when West Ham are away or Spurs are away? So there's always, there's always that future
yeah,
generations to tap into. Something that you touched on in your last discussion there. How did you feel about the reset of the club? Obviously, you had some pitch problems. You had to restart in the furlough no
yeah,
league. How did you
yeah.
how did you feel for with that, Buddha? Because given my outsider's view, it seemed to me like the club needed a bit of a reset, and obviously no team wants to drop any leagues, but for me, it looks like it's done you a little bit of a favour because you've reset. You've got a new pitch laid. You've got this new demographic and younger, more energetic support. Obviously, that always helps when you've got a winning season. And what did you come last year, second or third, whatever it may be. But
Yeah.
talk to me about how you feel that drop has had an effect on the football.
Um,
Would that be good or bad?
yeah. I mean, it was a tough time for every Harlow supporter. It was a real bitter pill to swallow. Uh, yeah. I mean, basically, the pitch had to be replaced after 10 years. The people that come in and replaced it completely just completely knackered the whole job up. So once obviously the winter came and the rain started coming, the pitch started to sink, and then all of a sudden, we weren't allowed to use the pitch, and blah
Yeah.
blah blah, finding a new home, etc., which didn't happen. So I think the club at the time were really left with no alternative. I mean, we was in the Southern League, and literally every away game that we was doing was at least 2 hours away, and it wasn't a great league to be in, to be honest. So I think with the withdrawal and starting again, step six I felt was a bit harsh from the FA, really.
Yeah.
Along with the £3.5 grand fine, and yeah, I just think they should. I mean, they say that they're there for their members, but I don't believe that with the FA. They gave Harlow very little support, and I'm not impressed about it. But like you say, on the flip side, all right, we've started again at step six. It's a reset, and I think you're right. Actually, I mean, I'm quite happy to agree with it. It probably has done us a favour because, as I say, the attendances are up. You've got new fans, and everybody's excited. Everybody's pulling in the right direction. We all want promotion this year, which I do believe will happen, which will take us into the Essex Senior League. Then hopefully, onwards and upwards to at least step four. Yeah, I think it's done us a favour.
Have you
There's
had
been a
have,
reset.
Have you had confirmation this season? But I know there was obviously last year you was in those playoff places, and then the FA made the decision that was it the first year of being back and formed, you couldn't be involved in the playoffs, right? I've never heard of that rule before, but that's
Well,
what
that's
happened, right?
that's a funny thing because apparently it was to do with keeping the integrity of the league.
Right.
So last year they said the FA actually informed the Third and None League at the
Right.
beginning of the season that we were not allowed to go up. But unfortunately, and it wasn't until Christmas time when we were top of the league, we
Yeah.
actually found out from the Thurlow Nunn League that it wouldn't happen,
Right.
which was obviously a big kick in the teeth for everyone at the club, you know.
Sure.
Um,
So have you had confirmation this year that you can actually either go up or
yeah,
but you have?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, it's on this year. It's definitely on this year. So
So
um,
so
yeah,
you
I
play,
think I'm very confident. We got a good squad. We got good players. Yeah, I'm really optimistic for the season. I think it's going to be a good one.
good to hear. I'd love to see obviously Harlow start climbing the leagues again. And as you say, once you start climbing the leagues again, even more people are gonna start coming to watch, right? So
Absolutely.
that could only be a good thing. You touched on something there about before the expulsion about playing in the Southern League. Now, obviously, I remember playing for Harlow. I'm trying to think when it was 2006, maybe 2005. They actually, I don't know if you remember, they changed all the Ryman teams over to the Southern League, and there was us, Enfield. We got put in the Southern League, and I wouldn't say it was any harder or much different. What I noticed is that you was on a coach every other week for a much longer period
Yeah.
than you were playing in the Ryman League. So
Mm.
obviously there's some ground hoppers or true non-league diehards that are like, oh, I want to be a new league means new grounds, but
Yeah.
I've always been the other way, looked at it from a little bit more financial point of view, that if you're in the Essex Senior League or in the Ryman League or whatever it may be, regionalised, I'd rather it be
Yeah.
I'd rather it be local because more local derbies. Like, where do you stand on that? Like, where would you rather? Let's just say next season you went up. Would you rather be a Harlow Town playing in the Essex Senior League, for instance, where you've got a lot of local teams in and around that? Or would you look at it like what happened to Stansted last year, for instance, and you got put in the Spartan Midlands League or Spartan South
Yeah.
Midlands League, whatever they call it. Would you rather that go to new grounds, new places, new away days, or would you rather be, having local derbies, being closer? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah. I think I'd rather stay in the same region. Because as well, the other side of it is that once you start traveling miles, these new fans they may not even. I mean, I'm happy. I like going to new grounds. I like going to
Yeah,
see different stadiums. Yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, if we're putting a Spartan, that's fine. Me, I'll do it. But I think if it's more regionalised, it gives you a bigger chance as well to take an away following as well.
yeah,
So
100%.
some of the young kids they can hop on the train or they can hop on the bus. So I think yeah, I'm happy for it to be regionalised, and not only that as well. I mean, as well that these players have all got jobs.
Yeah,
I mean, there was one point in that Southern League where we went to one ground on a Saturday, which I think was Didcot, which took us 2.25 hours,
yeah,
and then we were back on the Tuesday night to play Wantage 5 miles up the road.
yeah.
I mean, that's quite a strain for these players. I mean, how do these players get time off work to be able to travel to all these midweek games when you're talking long distances? You
Yeah, I
know?
remember. I remember, but being in the Southern League, as I say, I can't remember what year they moved us across. Say it was 05, 06, and I remember we had Stratford, like Birmingham way, New Year's Eve, I think it was, and they made it a 3 o'clock
Crikey.
kickoff. And you
Oh
think,
my God.
we're finishing at 5. Them boys not getting home till 8, 9 o'clock on New Year's Eve. So I'm
No.
a bit like, from a logistics point of view and from a money point of view, I'd always rather be local. As you say, even
Yeah.
Didcot and the coach journeys you've just put, that's a lot of money football clubs have got to pay out for. That's a lot of time off work that boys have got to get. So
Mhm. It's the
moving
same,
forward,
even for the fans, because
yeah,
those two games, we probably spent somewhere in the region of about 80 quid on fuel.
yeah, exactly. And it's, as
You
you say,
know?
the local games as well. The more likely you're going to take people away. And You know, it's I
and
think
get
it's
bigger
better.
crowds as well.
Yeah, I think it's better for everyone. So aspirations for this season, then definitely. Do you think to go up as champions? Would you take playoffs? You know, Harlow have been, we've been successful and unsuccessful in playoffs. So
Yeah.
how do you, what the aspirations? What you thinking this season? Who's going to
Oh,
be your biggest competitor?
look, I mean, it's a bit of a strange one this year, really. I mean, my hope, I believe that we will win the league. I do believe we will win the league. And we will go up as automatic champs. I could be wrong. It's early doors. I mean, Hackney Wick have come out of nowhere and won their first 6 games, I believe. I don't know how strong they are. I know it's early doors, but I do believe that we will go up as champions. There's a couple of good teams in there that may cause us a problem, possibly Hutton, possibly Coggeshall. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's nobody in that division that I would look at and fear, to be honest with you.
That's
There's
good.
nobody. I looked at it before we'd even kicked a ball at the start, and I'm still confident we will win the league. Definitely.
That's good. So we touched on a little bit at the start, but in regards to non-league, I think obviously you spoke about the interaction between supporters and team, but obviously there's no glory in non-league. There's no real, you know, Champions League. There's no big, nights that people would, outsiders looking in would think about. But what really, as I say, what warms your soul going to a non-league game? Like what for you makes it all worthwhile? I always said to my boy, look, the interaction with the players, knowing people in the crowd, knowing people, just around the ground, and it's very
Yeah.
welcoming. Always love a non-league burger. Like what for you? Where you getting that? Where you getting that warmth from that makes you want to go back every week?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, when I get to the ground on a Saturday afternoon, I can't walk 5 yards. Somebody will give me a handshake or, say hello, Buddha, how you doing? Um, there's not many people there that I don't know. You know that, and I do love that connection with the fans that we've got. That it's a real family. It feels like a family, to be honest with you. We're all together, and everybody's, let's have a beer, we have a handshake, and yeah, and when we get on the terrace, we're all one, and we're all getting behind the team. And even the players, if I'm around the tunnel, the players will come up, they'll give me a hug, a handshake. I'll say good luck for the game and everything. And I love that connection. I love that bond with the players, the staff, and the supporters. It's so special, but you can't do that at White Hart Lane. You can't do that at Stamford Bridge. You can't have that connection with the players and the staff, can you? With this, it's more personal. Like I say, we have such a giggle on a Saturday afternoon when we're standing there. We'll have a bit of banter with the opposition, and I love the banter. I've had some good banter over the years, especially with people like Bertie Brayley and people like that. Um, you can't do that at Premier League. You can't have that banter. You can't. I don't know. It just feels so more special and personal, and I think that's where I get my buzz from. The connection with everyone. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I agree. And as I say, I think even more so for you, right? You're following a team in a town that you live. You follow them through the dark times, the good times. That
Oh,
I think
definitely.
just you can't beat that. As I say, there's no. Also, what I like about non-league football, as I say, is very welcoming. You can take, for you can take your grandson. I can take my boy. There's
Yeah,
never
absolutely.
any trouble. You can have a beer next to the pitch, but where do
Mm.
you stand? Where do you stand, Buddy, in like Harlow? Is it extra special sometimes when you get Harlow boys playing for the team? Obviously now all football is very much um a place that everyone comes from, different places, and they can come from London in or whatever, but
Yeah.
Is it extra special sometimes that you get a boy playing for Harlow and representing?
Uh,
Is that a little bit more
well,
special for you guys?
yeah. I mean, we've now got a couple of the boys. Oh, there's a few of the boys now which are local, and I think that helps. Um, because I think if people see local boys who they know, they will come along. And I mean,
Yeah.
last year we had Gavin Cockman,
Yeah, you got
um,
you got
we got Luke, we had Gavin Cockman, we got Tom Jellyman,
yeah.
and obviously Toby Church. So we got there's a few local boys in the squad now, and I think it does make a difference because I think if local people know these people, they will come along and watch their
Yeah,
local
100%.
mates playing for their local team. I think it does help.
Yeah, me too. I think there's that extra level of care as well, right? If you're a Harlow boy playing for Harlow, like you want, Harlow's a big town. You care about it.
Yeah.
You want to do well even more, right? So one of the reasons why I thought about you for the non-league super fan episode is on a Saturday morning. I always see on my Instagram that you go off to the ground early and put all the flags up. So
Yeah.
tell me about your match day routine. Tell me about going early, putting your flags up. Tell me about your pint shot. Just tell me about what your normal day, as a Harlow home game looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I usually get up on a Saturday morning, like everybody get up and have a bit of breakfast or whatever, and then usually I get the bags out and I have a look, see what's in, have a rummage, sort of fold them all up. And then usually about 10:30, 11 o'clock, I go over the club. I've got me little step ladder because I'm only 5'5". So I've got a little step ladder. So I usually climb up and yeah, I'm usually there. It takes me about, I don't know, about half hour, 45 minutes, and I go up and I put all the flags up.
How many
Some
have you
days
got,
about
mate?
what have you got now? One, two, four. I think we've got about 10 now. I think,
Wow.
given,
Okay.
and I'm actually trying to work on another one at the moment because I want to do one that celebrates Harlow's FA Cup run in the
Okay.
79-80 season. So I want to do something to celebrate those legends that when we
Yeah.
beat Leicester and Southend. So I'm working on something, but yeah, I'll do that between now and the end of the season because Harlow is a big name in non-league football, and it
100%.
has got a history. Um, and yeah, I just think I mean, we've been so lucky, Harlow. We've had some great players over the years, including yourself. And I was talking to Cyrus Gordon on Tuesday evening,
Yeah.
and he said to me, this club is so special, and I can't agree more. And it's I think if you're a player, if you play for Harlow, you know what it means.
Yeah. I
You know
think
yourself.
we've always had great support. I think the
Yeah,
fans have always been there. Even when I look back at going to watch Harlow as a kid and Alan Hatt and all
yeah.
the people. But so if you
And
get
then
there,
usually
well,
once the flags are up, I come home, I have a spot of lunch, and then usually get to the ground for about 10 to 2.
yeah,
And then I go in, usually say hello to the bar staff and everything else, and then usually go to the tunnel just before the boys come out.
yeah,
Give the boys a high five or a handshake as they go out to warm up. And then I usually go and grab myself a beer, and then obviously people are sort of coming into the ground by then, and yeah, it's a case of mingling, talking about the game, looking forward to the game, talking about last week's game, talking about the players, the usual sort of thing you do when you go to football.
yeah,
And then obviously at 3 o'clock, once the game's underway, that's it. That's where I try and generate some positive support on the terraces, and people do tend to look to me and tend to follow me. So I have to be, so I try and do positive stuff.
yeah. I think as I say, you've always known there's been a vocal support at Harlow. You're always right in the mix. But what about your pint shot? But what I always seem to see on a Saturday, you do a little pint shot. Is that something that you just like doing? Grab a player, different alcoholic
Well,
beverage.
well, to be honest with you, it started off. I just was doing like scenic shots. I'd put the pint down somewhere,
Yeah.
and I'd take a picture of the ground or the stadium, yeah, and I'd post it, and that was that. And to be honest with you, I got to a point where I thought, do you know what? I think it's done now. It's done its time. And for a while, I stopped doing it. And then people started asking me, "Where's the pint shot? Where's the pint shot?" Strange. So then I decided to bring it back. But then I thought, well, I can't keep doing like scene shots. So somebody said to me, "Well, why don't you do fans and players then? Highlight fans and players." So I thought, well, that's a good idea. And that's just basically how it's evolved. And if I don't do one, people do ask. It's really strange. But yeah, it's just, I don't know really why I did it.
Setting trends, but setting trends. So
Yeah, but I know, it's really strange. I mean, like I say, if I don't do it, people ask. So yeah.
win, lose or draw, Buddha. Do you have a beer after? Do you go home? Like, is it obviously local town? Does the result bother you on a Saturday night, or are you okay when you walk out? Like, what happens? After the final whistle.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. In the early days, yeah, I didn't take defeat too well. I got to
Yeah,
be honest. I used to come home and yeah, weren't really happy about it. But I think, to be
yeah,
honest with you, because I'm a little bit older now, a little bit wiser, I think I
yeah.
kind of just, yeah, okay, all right, we've not got the result we wanted. Dust ourselves off and we go again. And I always just try and be positive. I mean, some people will say, "Oh, we could have done this today. We could have done that today." You can't change it. It is what it
No,
is. So
no.
let's just be positive. Look forward. Get behind the team. Get behind the boys next week. We try and get a result next week. But yeah, I don't like losing. But
No.
I think as I've got older and a bit wiser now, I think I kind of just yeah, take it on the chin now.
It definitely gets, I think, a little bit easier. The fire will always still burn, I think, but I think it does get
Oh,
easier as you get
absolutely.
older.
Oh,
So there's a
definitely.
couple of minutes left, but I want to go quick fire. What's your favourite away day?
Sudbury.
Biggest rival?
Tilbury.
Ooh. Favourite ever Harlow Town player?
Dado. Junior
Mm,
Dadson.
good shout.
Sorry, mate.
Mine would be Mark Salmon, I think.
That was just before my time, I think.
Yeah. What favourite day supporting Harlow?
Oh God, now you've got me. Oh, there's two.
Sudbury?
Uh, no, it was Hornchurch playoff final
Yeah,
and last season's League Cup final. That was just honestly
that looks a great day.
amazing.
As an outsider,
Yeah, do you know
that
what?
looks a great
Can I
day.
just say one thing? I know that I do everything I can to promote the club, but
Yeah,
there was two moments last year that really hit home. I was saying about the young supporters. They came to the cup final, and after the final whistle, when we was all on the pitch, I had young fans coming up to me, and they were going to me, "This is for you, Buddha."
yeah, it's great. That's good to hear.
I just couldn't believe it. And one of the young lads said to me, "We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. We do this because of you," and that really means a lot.
Yeah, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
Last thought. Give me a sentence that sums up watching Harlow Town or non-league football.
Oh God.
We got
God,
30.
blimey.
We've got 30 seconds, mate. I'll put you on the spot.
The bond.
Yeah, the
The
bond.
bond and the love.
Okay, mate. Well, all I want to say is thank you very much. I've loved listening to your stories. I love your commitment. As I say, I love seeing your Instagram and your Twitter at the weekend about what you're up to. I think everything you've spoken about and talked about today sums up non-league football and the commitment involved and the supporters. So, mate, I thank you for your time. I look forward to getting
Yeah,
over.
thank you too. Much appreciated.
No, I look forward to getting over to Harlow very soon and just keep doing what